Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we are studying Daf Chafei of Masechta Shabbos. Quick overview of the page we are about to enjoy together. We're going to begin the daf discussing how come you are allowed to burn tamei terumah oil during the week, right? We said that you're not allowed to burn tamei terumah oil, which is what's called shemen sreifa. You would not be allowed to burn that in your candles on Yom Tiv, but the implication being you would be allowed to burn tamei terumah oil in your candles during the week. How come? Okay. We're going to talk about for the first time today the actual obligation to light Shabbos candles, right? As I've raised my quandary before, we're talking about bameh madlikin uvama'im madlikin, all these oils and wicks that we're allowed to use and we can use, but who even says that we should be using them in the first place? What is this obligation to light Hanukkah Shabbos candles all about? I don't know if I said Hanukkah candles. I hope I didn't, because I meant Shabbos candles. We're going to talk about bathing before Shabbos. Is that like a thing? Yeah, it is kind of a thing. And then just like some agadatas at the end, which will be kind of nice. So, friends, let's do it. We will begin on Daf Chafei Amud Aleph on the second line of the page. B'Yom Tiv hu de'aser habechol shapir dami my taima. So, our Mishnah says that you're not allowed to use shemen sreifa b'Yom Tiv, right? You're not allowed to use tamei terumah oil on Yom Tiv. The implication being that you would be allowed to use it in your candle during the week, which implies that you're allowed to get benefit from tamei terumah oil. Okay? You're allowed to burn it in your candle, give you light in your house. So how come? How come you would be allowed to get benefit from tamei terumah oil? So Amar Rab, Rab said, Kishem shemitzvah lisof hakadshim shenidmu, kach mitzvah lisof es hatrumah shenidmes. Okay, so this isn't the answer to the question yet, but it's sort of just like a building the first step to our answer. So step number one is that Rav says that just like if you have kachim, if you have a korban, for example, that becomes tamei, right? Or what's going to become important later on is like, let's say, for example, you have oil of kachim. How can you have oil of kachim? Let's say, right, a flour offering, right? A korban mincha, a flour offering. So you'd mix the flour with oil. So that oil, right, that has been set aside and has already been put in a klishares, right? It's been put in one of these sort of holy vessels. So that oil is going to be considered kodesh. If that oil then becomes tamei, you're going to have to burn it, okay? So Rav says that just like if you have kachim that becomes tamei, you have to burn that. Well, you also have to burn truma that becomes tamei, okay? That's step one. But how do I know that I can burn it in my candle and get benefit from it, right? Not just burn it on the floor somewhere. So, the Amra Torah, and the Torah says, Bishas bi'ura tehani mimena. And the Torah says that when you burn the terumah oil, that is tamei, you're permitted to get benefit from it. Heichan Amra Torah. Where does the Torah say that you, right? Because we just said, and the Torah says that when you burn it, you're allowed to get benefit from it. Where does the Torah say that? So now we're going to have three opinions, okay? The first one and the last one are pretty straightforward. The middle one is pretty not straightforward. But we'll start with the first one, okay? Midur Rav Nachman. So we learn out that you can get benefit when you burn the tamei terumah oil from Rav Nachman. The Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba bar Ravua, Amar Kra. That Rav Nachman says in the name of Rabba bar Ravua that the pasuk says, Va'ani hine nosati lecha es mishmeres trumasai. That the Eibishter says to Aharon that I've given you the guarding of my trumos. Now trumosai is plural, okay? Bishtei trumos akosov medaber. The pasuk is talking about two trumas, achas truma torah v'achas truma tamei. What are the two trumas? Truma tahora and truma tamei. Okay, fine. V'amachmana licha, to you. Shelcha tehei lasika tachas tafshilcha. Nu. So the pasuk says that God gave to Aharon mishmeres trumosai, both of my trumas, right? So I've given you truma tahora. What do you do with truma tahora? You eat truma tahora. What do you do with truma tamei? There's not much you can do with it. You got to burn it, okay? However, it says licha. I gave them to you, so that when you burn it, you don't just have to burn it on the floor and let it go to waste. Rather, you can burn it under your pot, right? If you're cooking dinner in a pot, you're making a soup, so you can use these truma stuff to contribute to your fire, right, as fuel for the fire. And additionally, I guess in our case, you'd be allowed to use it for a candle to give you light at home. Okay, so that's Rav Nachman's opinion. Okay, here you got a halakha b'shtickle, but it's also interesting. There's going to be a whole bunch of concepts that come up. So remember these concepts. V'ibai semo, if you want, I'll give you another reason how come I'm allowed to use shem and sreifa during the week. Mid Rabbi Abahu, to Amar Rabbi Abahu, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, that Rabbi Abahu said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, V'lo bi'arti mimenu b'tamei. Nu, what's this pasuk? This pasuk is by Bir Meiser, okay? This means that, so of course, as we've discussed many times, Meiser Sheni, right? Meiser Sheni is the second tithe that you take. First you take Truma, then you take Meiser Rishon, then you take Meiser Sheni, and you bring that to Jerusalem. Now, every 3 years, you gotta make sure that, you're all tithed up. It's keilu. We do taxes, let's say, every year, so this is like every 3 years, make sure all your, Meiser Sheni has been brought to Jerusalem, whether your actual food that you brought or whether you brought money in place of the food and you're going to buy it, but definitely make sure that by the end of every 3 years, all your Meiser Sheni stuff is squared up. And when you come to Jerusalem with your Meiser Sheni, you say, Bi'arti mimenu, right, Bi'arti HaKodesh min habayis, etc., right, that I've gotten rid of all of the Kodesh from the house. And part of what you say to the Kohen, I believe it's that you say to the Kohen, you say, V'lo bi'arti mimenu b'tamei, that I didn't burn it b'tamei. And Rashi points out that that's whether it was truma, whether the Meiser Sheni was tamei, or whether I was tamei, I didn't burn it. And we say, mimenu iya tamavir, you don't burn, right? It says, lo bi'arti mimenu b'tamei, from it. It implies that it's specifically it and not something else, that there's something else that you would be allowed to burn it when it's tamei. What do you guys think it's going to be? What do you think you can burn when it's tamei? Truma tamei, right? So mimenu iya tamavir, you don't burn Meiser Sheni when either it or you are tamei. Aval atamavir shemen shel truma shenitmeis, but you do burn shemen oil, right? Truma oil that is tamei. Okay, zeu. And I guess the implication being that when you burn it, you can get enough from it as well. Okay. Ve'ema mimenu iya tamavir aval atamavir shemen shel kodesh shenitma. But 1 second, the Gemara says, 1 second. All the pasuk says is mimenu, from it, meaning that we are, making an exception for something else, right? That Meiser Sheni you don't burn in the context of Tumah, but there's something else that you do burn when it's Tamei, and we just assumed that it was Truma. But maybe it's Kodesh. Maybe it's saying, like I mentioned earlier, this oil of Kodesh, this oil that is for flour offerings, if that gets Tamei, maybe, you don't simply just burn it in the Beis Hadeshen, you don't just burn it, where you burn all, like, Tamei, Kachim. Maybe I could take that oil and, use it for, whatever, to cook with, or, well, I wouldn't be able to eat it, but, maybe, I don't know, to put under the fire, or maybe to light a candle, right? So maybe it's the oil of Kachim that I would be allowed to burn and get benefit from. So the Gemara says no. Certainly you would not be able to burn the oil of Kodesh and get hana from it. How come? Because lav kavachomer. Is it not a kavachomer? What's the kavachomer? Ma meiser akal amar Torah lo biarti mimenu b'tamei. It says by meiser sheni that I didn't burn it when it was tamei. And meiser sheni is something that's more mekil, right? Especially when compared to kodshim, right? So it says kodesh chamer lo kosheken, certainly kodesh, which is way more chamor than meiser sheni, I can't just burn it when it's tamei and get benefit from it. Why is kodesh more chamor than meiser sheni? For 1,000 reasons. Meiser sheni can be eaten by anybody, right? Kodesh, depending on what it is, it might have to be eaten by a kohen, right? Kodesh has to generally be eaten within a certain amount of time. Meiser sheni doesn't. Kodesh has to be eaten, some of them have to be eaten in the azara. There's pigul. There's 1,000 things, right? If you eat it when you're tamei, you're going to be chayiv kares. There's 1,000 reasons why. I don't know if I said 1,000,000 before, but I don't know, either 1,000 or 1,000,000. There's all sorts of reasons why kodesh is more chamor than meiser sheni. So therefore, if meiser sheni, you would have to you can't burn in the context of tumah. So then also kodesh you wouldn't be able to burn when it is tamei and get hana from it. But one second, ihachi truma nami lemakav chomeru. So the Gemara says, yeah, but I mean the kav chomer works, but it's not the only kav chomer you could make there. You could also make a kav chomer and say, well, meiser sheni you can't burn when it's tamei. So also truma you can't, make the same kav chomer, but swap kodesh for truma. If meiser sheni, which is more mekil, you can't burn when it's tamei, well then certainly truma, which is more machmir which is more chamor than meiser sheni, you wouldn't be able to burn if it's tamei. Why is truma more chamor than meiser sheni? I don't know. One reason is just that truma, you're chayiv misa b'dei shamayim if a zar eats it, whereas anybody can eat, or if you eat it when it's possible, whereas, or tamei, whatever. But anybody can eat meiser sheni, right? I guess maybe if it's tamei, I guess you wouldn't eat it, but you wouldn't be chayiv misa b'dei shamayim. So we're kind of at a stalemate, sort of, right? Like, we're trying to figure out, okay, one second. So is it going to be truma tamei that I'm allowed to burn that's excluded from mimenu? Is it going to be oil of kodesh that's tamei that is excluded from mimenu that I would be allowed to burn? So we're kind of at a standstill. So the Gemara says, well, haksiv mimenu. The Gemara says, yeah, but it says mimenu, from it's excluding one thing, and therefore it's going to be excluding truma, and to say that I'm allowed to burn truma when it's tamei. But the Gemara says, come on, umara isa. But still, why are you just assuming that it's truma that's being excluded from mimenu? Maybe it's kodshim that's being excluded from mimenu. So the Gemara says, okay, fine, I can't just give you, answers that aren't thought through. All right, I'm going to have to focus here. Okay, fine. Here's the reason why it's clearly excluding truma and not excluding kodesh. Mistavra kodesh lo mimaitna. Okay, it makes sense to say that kodesh is not going to be excluded, i.e., that kodesh will be just like meiser sheni, and you would not be allowed to burn it when it's tamei and get hana from it. Shekain simen punk akas. Because when it comes to kodesh, the way that you could remember all of the things, all of these chumras related to kodesh, is with this acronym punk akas, okay, or punk axe, okay, pei nun kuf ein chaf samech, punk axe, okay. What's punk? What's pei nun kuf? Pei is for pigul. Who can tell me what pigul is? No, who knows? Quick, write it in WhatsApp before I say it. Anyways, pigul is that, it gets a little complicated. If I remember from Ela, it gets pretty complicated. But the simple version of pigul is that if, when you shecht a korban, so korban has to be eaten within a certain amount of time, and it has to be eaten in a certain place, right? So for example, shlamim has to be eaten l'shnei yamim v'layla echad, right? So shlamim, you have 2 days and the night in between to eat it. And also it has to be eaten anywhere in Jerusalem. You can't eat it outside of Jerusalem, and you can't eat it more than 2 days later. So let's say, so that means that when you shecht the korban shlamim, you must shecht it with the intention to be eating it within its proper time frame and in its proper location. If when you shechted it, you had intention to eat it outside of its proper time frame or outside of its proper place, well then that's a problem. Okay, I believe that the issue for chutz lizmano is kares, and for chutz limkomo, I don't remember. It might just be a lav. I think chutz lizmano is a bigger deal than chutz limkomo, but that's what pigul is. Nosar, what's nosar? Nosar is that, for example, going back to our example of shlamim, so you have 2 days to eat shlamim, okay? And if after 2 days it becomes nosar, it becomes leftover. And because you can't eat it anymore, it's just leftover stuff that didn't get eaten. And you can't eat it anymore because it's outside of its proper time. So nosar also, you have to burn it, right? Okay. Korban, simply enough, kachim is called a korban. It's called a sacrifice, which is not the case by terumah or meiser sheni. Okay. Next, moving on to akas. So interestingly enough, the ayin is for me'ilah, the second letter in me'ilah. Okay. Which is that there's a din of me'ilah by kachim, which means that you cannot get any benefit from the animal until, I think it depends if it's kachim kachim or kachim kalim, but basically until a certain point, once it's considered shechted, so then the kohanim are allowed to eat it and get benefit from it. But before that point, you would not be allowed to get any benefit. That would be what's called me'ilah. Kares, right? If it is tamei and you eat it intentionally, or if you are tamei and you eat it intentionally, so in your chayav kares, which is not so great. Ve'asur le'onein. The samach is asur le'onein. The samach over there in asur. That somebody who is in onein, somebody, if you remember back to the third parak of Masechta Brachos, we talked all about aninus, right? That is a person who is mourning so between the time when a relative passes away and the relative has been buried. So those are 6 chumras that apply to kachim. Okay, exciting stuff. So because kachim has these 6 chumras, this punk axe, so therefore we're going to say that you would not be allowed, it's so chamor that you would not be allowed to burn it and get benefit from it. But the Gemara is not still not convinced. It won't be defeated. Adarabba truma lo mima itna. I'll say no, don't exclude truma. Say that if truma is tamei, you would not be allowed to burn it and get benefit from it. Shekain machpaz, because it has its own acronym. What's its acronym? Its siman is misa, which is that if you eat truma that is tamei, so then, or if you are tamei, I believe that's correct, that if either one is tamei, so then you're chayv misa b'dei shemayim. What's an afkamina, right? Death on the hand, by the hands of God. What's an afkamina between misa b'dei shemayim and kares? Who could tell me? So Rashi could tell us. So he says that kares is when you die young. Nice. And holech ariri. So what does holech ariri mean? So there's a pasuk over there in Sefer Bereshis, in Parshas Lech Lecha, by the Bris Ben Abasarim, right? Avraham Avinu says to the Eibishter, he says, "Umatitein li vani holech ariri." Right? What could you possibly give me? I'm walking ariri. So Rashi says Darton, right? Onkelos says it means without children, right? Okay, so over here, so I guess you would say you'll die young without children. What if you already have children? So Rashi there says another opinion, which is, oh gosh, now of course I can't remember. Ani olech hariri, I will go, to be destroyed. Right. It's Lashon Hashchasa, I think he says. It's Lashon of destruction. So I guess like, Ki'ilu, right, says like, RR, right? Right, R Adi Yisodba, or Aru. Wow, alright, there goes my head. But in any event, it's something like not good. I guess you'll like die young and just kind of like be a mess, and you're gonna be, as I think my grandmother refers sometimes, a lo yitzlach, Somebody who nothing good will come out of this person. In any event, so that's what Misa B'dei Shemaim. So Misa B'dei Shemaim, you're just going to die young, but you won't be a lo yitzlach. Okay, Chomesh. Chomesh is, if anybody could remember back to Masechta Brachas, Daf Lamed Hey Amud Beis, we said that if somebody eats terumah by accident, so then he's chayev to pay the value that he ate plus an additional chomesh, which is 25% really. Right, and then I think we said that if he shosa shemen shel truma, so he doesn't have to pay the chomesh because it's mazik, right? Anyways, so if you eat it by truma tamei by accident, you would have to if you eat truma by accident, you would have to pay a chomesh, okay? And then ve'ein lepidyon, truma you can never be podeh, right? Meaning, for example, by Meiser Sheni, right? We said that you can just, transfer the kedusha onto money, right? Be podeh into money. So also, there are certain korbanos, there are certain kachim, right? For example, if it gets a mum before you shecht it, so you can be podeh onto money and release it from its holiness. And then finally, vasur lizarim. Also, truma cannot be eaten by non-kohanim, right? Right, and as Rashi points out, in the pasuk vasur lezarim, aval kodesh yesh kodesh mutar lezarim la'achar zrika. Kagon meiser behema v'toda v'shlamim. There are certain kachim that are allowed to zarim to non-kohanim. For example, a shlamim. Anybody can eat a korban shlamim. Okay. So we see that truma has its own machpaz, things that make it chamor, right? It has the misa, chomesh, pidyon, and zarim. So we're still at a stalemate, or at least the Gemara wants us to believe right now that we're at a stalemate, which is that we don't know, which between truma tamei and kodshim tamei, which is going to be the one that you'd be allowed to burn and get benefit from. So listen closely, friends. Hanoch nefishan. So the Gemara says, yes, but kodshim would be more chamor on the scale of stuff than truma, because kodshim is punk axe, which is 6 chumras, whereas truma is machpaz, which is 4 chumras. So kodshim is, 50% more chamor than truma is. So therefore, you would not be allowed to burn kodshim when it is tamei. But truma, you would be allowed to burn, kodshim, you have to burn when it's tamei, but you wouldn't be allowed to get hana'ah when you burn the kodshim that is tamei. Whereas the truma tamei, you would be allowed to burn and get hana'ah from it. And that is learnt out from lo bi'arti mimenu bitamei, that mimenu is making an exception for truma tamei. You would be allowed to burn truma tamei and get hana'ah from it. That is why you can put it in your candle, the shemen sreifa, during the week. The Gemara then says, or I'll give you a different reason why it's going to be truma tamei. That's the exception. Kodesh chamor shekain anush kares. Simply enough, kodesh is simply more strict, because just look at the punishment that you get for it as compared to truma. Kodesh, you get kares. Truma, you get misa b'dei shemaim. Both of them are kind of rough, but kares is a little bit more rough because of the holech ariri thing. Okie dokie. And then Rav Nachum bar Yitzchak Amar. And then finally, the third opinion that we have to teach how we know that you can burn truma tamei and get benefit from it. Rav Nachum bar Yitzchak Amar Kra, the pasuk says, Titen lo. Right? It says, the pasuk says, Reishis de gancha tiroshcha v'tzorecha v'reishis geis tzoncha titen lo. That the Reishis de gancha, okay? What is this? It's talking about truma. It says, truma titen lo. You have to give your truma to him. And the Gemara says, lo v'lo le'oro. You have to give it to him and not directly to his fire. Mechlal de bas oruhu, which implies that you burn it. What does this mean? It means that, let's say you have a field, and of course you own 100% of your field, and the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take truma. And here's the thing though. 98% of your field is tahor, 2% of your field is tamei, and I know just what you're thinking. Perfect. Let me take the 2% of my field, that's tamei, and I'll give that to the Kohen. And I couldn't do anything, and well, I guess you could eat stuff that's tamei, but whatever it is, it just works out perfectly. Let me just get rid of this tamei stuff, get it off my hands. I'll give it to the Kohen. That'll be his truma. Leave me alone, right? But the Gemara says, don't do that. Because if you give truma tamei to a Kohen, what's he going to do with it? He can't eat it. He's going to have to burn it. And it says you have to give it titen lo. You have to give it to him and not to his fire, right? Which implies that truma tamei would go into his fire, and I guess his fire implying that he would be able to get hana from it, right? He'd be able to burn it under his food and get hana from it. So that's how we learn that you would be allowed to get hana from truma tamei by burning it. Okay, sweet. Moving on in our Mishnah. Rabbi Shmuel Omer Chuleinu. What did Rabbi Shmuel say? Rabbi Shmuel said, Ein madlikim be'itron mipnei kvod haShabbos. Rabbi Shmuel says that we don't light with tar. We don't use tar as a fuel for our fire, for our candle, out of honor of Shabbos. Okay? My timer. What does refraining from using tar in our Shabbos candles have to do with honoring Shabbos? So the Gemara says Rava, but the Abgozabach changes it to Rabba. So, sounds good. Meaning, Rava would be Abaye's contemporary, Rabba would be Abaye's teacher. So he changes the dialogue to be a dialogue between Abaye and his teacher, Rabba. And it's also more consistent with a Gemara at the end of the page. So we'll go with it. Rabba says Rabba, Mitoch sherecho ra. Since tar, when it burns, it smells bad. Rabba says, look, we're concerned that if he lights his Shabbos candle with tar, because it smells bad, he's just gonna leave, and he's not gonna benefit from the candle. And the whole point of the candle is that he should benefit from it. So it kind of defeats the whole purpose. So Abaye v'yetze. So Abaye says to Rabba, well, just let him leave the room. Who gives a darn? So what? He'll leave the room. Not the end of the world. So Rabba says, because I say that lighting a candle, again, it just says one candle. All you need is one candle. I don't know where the minute comes to have two candles. Although in the Hasidic Sfarim, they already say Dar'in that, two candles. This is a vart in the Sidur Shel Shabbos, the what's his name? The Chernowitzer, the Ber Maim Chaim. So he says that Ner is 250, the Gematria, right? Reish is 200, Nun is 50, 250. So 2 Neros is 500. And they say that it's like 248 like limbs or something in like a man, and 252 in a woman or something, or at least Kabbalistically. I don't know what that means anatomically. But in any event, so it's like the man and the woman, kind of put them together, you get your 2 candles of Shabbos. Woohoo! Okay. So in any event, we're talking about a Ner Shabbos, and Rabbah says that it's a chiyuv, you have an obligation to have a candle burning on Shabbos. And Rashi, I think you kind of have to understand it with this Rashi, right? And Rashi therefore says, and Rashi adds, and how come you have to have this candle? Why is it a chiyuv? Out of honor of Shabbos. And in Rashi, Dibra Maschil Chova, it says, she'ein suda chashuva elab makom or ke'ein yamama. It's only considered a chashuv, an important, significant meal, if there's enough light that it's as light as day. Right? Meaning out of the chashivos of the Shabbos meal and, Friday night. So we want that it should be as light as day, right? In your house. So that's why you light candles. And then Rashi also said in Chav Gimel Amud Beis, he had said in the Dibra Maskil Shlom Beiso, says Shebnei Adam mitztayr and leishav b'choshech, right? That people are sort of, in sa'ar. It's uncomfortable for them to sit in the darkness. So therefore, make sure that you light a candle. And if you're going to leave the room because it smells bad, well, that's going to defeat the whole purpose of this chiyuv, of this obligation to light a candle. The Amar of Nachman bar Rav Zavda, V'amri la Amar of Nachman bar Rava, Amar Rav, Hadlakas ner b'Shabbos chova. Lighting a candle on Shabbos is an obligation. Rechitzas yadayim v'raglayim b'chamin arvis rishos. And washing your hands and your feet in warm water on Friday afternoon is a rishus. It's optional. Okay? Vani Omer mitzvah. And Rabbi says, but I say it's a mitzvah. It doesn't say it's a chiyuv, but it's a mitzvah. I guess like, it's not just optional, it's encouraged. And here's a super awesome thing. My mitzvah, what is this mitzvah? The Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, said Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav, Kach ayah min agol shel Rabbi Yehuda bar Ilai. This was the minig of Rabbi Yehuda bar Ilai. Isn't that awesome? We're about to learn something about Rabbi Yehuda bar Ilai. Rabbi Yehuda bar Ilai is the Tana Rabbi Yehuda. We find like little cool stories about Amoraim, right? When do you hear stories like this about the Tanaim, about their personal sort of things that they would do? Usually the Mishnayos and Brises are like quoted for like their halachic value, you know? Like this Tana says this, discuss, you know? He says this, I say, you know, it's there for the sort of the halachic stuff, you know, mutter, asr, you know, he says this, he says that, Chachamim say this. But here we can actually see a little bit of who was this Rabbi Yehuda bar Ilai. So he says, Kachayim and Agol Rabbi Yehuda bar Ilai. Erev Shabbos mivim lo areva mlei chamin. So on Erev Shabbos they would bring for him a tub full of hot water. Vrochitz panav yadav v'raglav. He would wash his face, his hands, and his feet. Umisatef, and then he would put on his talis. V'yoshev b'stinin amitzuyatzin. And he would sit over there in his talis, v'dome lemalach Hashem tzvakos, and he would be similar to an angel of God. That is how Rabbi Yehuda bar Ilai, the Tana Rabbi Yehuda bar Ilai, would bring in Shabbos. He would bathe, and he would wrap himself in his talis, and sit there bringing in Shabbos, and he looked like an angel of God. Wow. Okay, and now the Gemara gets into, of course, like a halachic kind of debate. Well, let's see. So apparently this dinin amatzuyatzin, this sadin was made out of linen, okay? And he says mitzuyatzin, it says that he had tzitzis on this linen garment that he was wearing. Now, tzitzis are made out of wool, linen is made out of linen, and that would be shatnez, right? You're putting, wearing something with wool and linen together is what's called shatnez. That's not allowed. The thing is, there's a special teaching that says, because it says lo silbas shatnez, and immediately afterwards it says gedilim ta'aselach. Make for yourself fringes, make for yourself tzitzis. So we learn from there that actually you are allowed to make tzitzis even if it's shatnez. So it said that Rabbi Yehuda bar Ilai, you would put on this shatnez talis, and now vayil talmidav mechabin mimenu kanfek susan, and his students who were there, they would hide the corners of their garments because they weren't wearing tzitzis on their linen garments. Amar lahen banai lo kach shanisi lachem sadin betzitzis. Sons, didn't I teach you that when it comes to putting tzitzis on linen, Beis Shammai potun u'Beis Hillel mechayvin v'alacha divrei Beis Hillel, that Beis Shammai says that you don't put wool tzitzis on a linen garment, and Beis Hillel says that you do put wool tzitzis on a linen garment, and the halacha is like Beis Hillel. And Rashi explains, which is very, very, very interesting, that the reason why Beis Shammai says that you're not allowed to put wool tzitzis on a linen garment is because they don't learn of smuchim. Right? I just explained a minute ago that the reason why you are allowed to put on wool tzitzis on a linen garment is because the pasuk says lo silbas shatnez gedilim ta'aselach. That even though it says not to wear shatnez, immediately after that in the Torah it says make tzitzis to teach us that, you can even make tzitzis out of shatnez. But Beis Shammai doesn't hold of smuchim. Why is that interesting? I'm sure you guys are all thinking the same thing, right? Daf Yud Amud Aleph of Brachos. Daf Yud Amud Aleph of Brachos. There was a nudnik who came to, I think it was Rabbi Abou, and he asked him a kasha based on, psukim in Tanakh, in Tilim, to which Rabbi Abou says, it must have been a tzeduki, right? And he says, look, you tzedukim, you don't learn smuchim. Therefore, you have this question, we learn smuchim. And then he quotes Rabbi Yochanan as saying, smuchim min haTorah minayin. How do we know that smuchim are, I guess, like mida oraisa, right? And meaning it sounds like that was like a classic tzeduki pirushi argument, right? One of the things was that the tzedukim wouldn't learn smuchim, but we do learn smuchim. So why wouldn't Beis Shammai learn smuchim? I don't know. But in any event, Beis Shammai didn't learn smuchim. Therefore, he says you're not allowed to put wool tzitzis on a linen garment. Beis Hillel does learn smuchim, and he says that you are allowed to put wool tzitzis on a linen garment. So how come Rabbi Yehuda's students didn't? So ve'inu savre gzeira mishum ksus laila. They thought that there was actually a gzeira derabanan to say that even though midoraisa you are allowed to put wool strings on a linen garment, but they made a gzeira and said don't do it because it says in the pasuk uri'isem also you have to be able to see the tzitzis, and from there we learn out that a garment that is designated for use at night, it's actually machlokas, but Rashi is assuming that it means that it's a ksus laila. That's a fact. The question is, how do you define ksus laila? Rashi seems to be defining ksus laila as a garment that is dedicated for nighttime. You don't need to put tzitzis on at all, and therefore out of a gezerah that if you would wear a linen garment and it would be made out of a garment made out of linen, and it would be a ksus laila, and you would put woolen tzitzis on it, but the fact of the matter is that the ksus laila isn't chayiv in tzitzis, and therefore you shouldn't really be putting tzitzis on, or there's no reason to be putting woolen tzitzis on this linen garment. So then you're just wearing wool and linen together, shalom kol mitzvah, not as part of a mitzvah, because there's no mitzvah on a ksus laila. Then you'll just be wearing shatnez. So to avoid that mess, they just say don't put tzitzis on a linen garment. Okay, fine, very good, very, very good. Let's go weiter in Shas, friends. Vatiznach mishalom nafshi. So the pasuk says that my soul was abandoned from peace. Nashisi tova, I have forgotten all good. All right. My vatiznach mishalom nafshi. What does it mean that my soul was abandoned from peace? So I'm Rabbi Abo zo adlakas ner b'Shabbis. This is lighting a candle on Shabbos, meaning if you don't light a candle on Shabbos, then it's like your soul has been abandoned from peace, because lighting a candle on Shabbos is for shlom bayis, so you should have peace in your home. And Rashi says, Uvmakum she'ein ner ein shalom, and in a place where there's no candle, there's no peace, sheholich v'nichshal ba'afela, because you're just going to walk around and stumble in the dark. So therefore, we light a candle on Shabbos so that there should be peace. Okay? Okay, and I guess he said earlier that any suda any important suda is going to have light, and I guess if you don't have light, then it gets it's all these Rashis together. It's like the Rashi the other day, which says that then you're going to be in pain because you're going to be uncomfortable, because if you get up, you're just going to fall down, so you're just going to be sitting there and uncomfortable. As opposed to if you have a light, then it'll be like a big chashuv suda. Okay, fine. Nashisi tova, and then the pasuk continues and says, I have forgotten good. What is this good that you have forgotten? Rabbi Yirmiyah says that this is going to the bathhouse on Erev Shabbos. This is the good that you want to do, and if you don't do it, it's clearly you forgot good. Rabbi Yochanan said it's like Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai did, washing your hands and your feet in hot water, though he would wash his face as well. Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai. Rabbi Yitzchak Napacha Amar said Rabbi Yitzchak Napacha, Zo mita noy v'chelim noim. Oh, this is a beautiful bed and beautiful clothing. She'aleh Rabbi Abba Amar, that upon it Rabbi Abba said, Zo mita mutzaas, this is a bed that is made. Okay? Ve'isha mikushetes l'tamidei chachamim, and a wife who is adorned in jewelry for tamidei chachamim. Okay? I wonder what for tamidei chachamim means in this context. Okay, very good. Tana Rabbanan Eze Asher. The rabbis taught, who is a wealthy person? Kol sheyesh lo nachas ruach be'oshro divrei Rabbi Meir. Somebody who has, content and pleasure from his wealth, according to Rabbi Meir. And Rashi points out that is Nachas ruach ba'oshro. He says in that Dibra Mascha Nachas ruach ba'oshro, Sameach bechelko im ma'at rab. He's happy with his portion, whether it's a lot, whether it's a little. Right? It's like the pasuk. It's like the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, Ezu ashir sameach bechelko. Who is wealthy? It is he who is happy with his lot. Okay. Then we say Siman Mem Tes Kuf Samech. So who is it? Somebody points out. I think there's maybe a Gos V'Tzionim says that this is out of order. It actually should have come right before this thing from Rabbi Meir. And the Mem Tes Kuf Al, which is Meir, Tarfon, Akiva and Yossi Seder. Because the Gemara continues, Rabbi Tarfon Omer says, Rabbi Tarfon kol sheyesh lo mea kramim umea sados umea avadim she'ovdim bain. So Rabbi Tarfon is a Pashtan. Rabbi Tarfon takes it pretty literally. Rabbi Tarfon isn't into this very, very cute, who's wealthy? Somebody who's happy with whatever he has, then you're wealthy. I mean, it's true, from a Musar perspective. But Rabbi Tarfon wasn't disillusioned. He said, look, you know who's wealthy? Somebody who has 100 vineyards, 100 fields, and 100 workers working those. That's who's wealthy, okay? Okay. Rabbi Akiva Omer, says Rabbi Akiva, Kol sheyesh lo isha noai b'maisim. Oh, Rabbi Akiva says it's somebody who has a wife who is very beautiful in her deeds. Okay. Rabbi Yossi Omer, says Rabbi Yossi, Kol sheyesh lo beis hakisei samuch l'shulchano. Oh, okay, very nice. Rabbi Yossi, that's funny. Rabbi Yossi says somebody who has a bathroom that's close to his table. Now, it sounds funny to us, especially because having your bathroom close to your table is maybe not so ideal. But in any event, I guess at that we talked about Masechta Brachos, right? About how difficult it was for people to find a bathroom. They had to go out to the fields outside of the cities, right, at night, and it wasn't so it wasn't so easy. It was complicated. So Rabbi Yossi says, look, I guess that a wealthy person is somebody who has plumbing in his house. Anyways, okay. Tanya, we learn in a brisa, Reb Shimon ben Elazar Omer, says the holy Reb Shimon ben Elazar, a madlikin bitzori. We don't light Shabbos candles with balsam sap. My time, how come? Amar Rabba, mitoch sherecho nodev, gzer shem yistapek mimenu. So Rabba says, because balsam sap, when you burn it, it smells so good that we're nervous that somebody is going to take a little bit of that sap out of the candle for himself. I guess to put on himself or to smell it, whatever it is. And Rashi says something super cool. In the last Rashi on the page, it says, on the second line of that Rashi, Hanosein shemer lener chayiv mishum mavir. If somebody adds oil to a candle, so he's going to be chayiv for havara, for burning, right? Hamistapek chayiv mishum mechabe. And if you take some oil out of the candle, so then you're chayiv for mechabe, for putting out a candle. Which is really interesting. It's already contemporary halacha. I don't know about these things. But, the question of the Shabbos clock. Can I just flip up can I just add time to the Shabbos clock? I'm not doing anything. It's just that when it gets there, it'll continue. Or can I maybe, put down the pins, so that it'll just shut off earlier. Apparently, burning isn't only burning the flame. It's also if you add to it, then you're contributing to it and it's havara. And if you take away from it, even though the flame is still going to be lit, but because means it's going to go out earlier, it's considered mechabe, which is really interesting. And therefore, don't use a candle, according to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, do not use this balsam sap, which smells really good when it burns, because then you might actually take some out of the candle for yourself, and that would be mechabe. Amalei Abaye says to Rabba, why don't you also say though, why don't you say that the issue with balsam sap is that it's flammable, it's volatile, right? It's not a very safe, fuel to use. So chadav od ka'amar. Rabbi is saying two things. He's saying chadav mipnei shu'af. Yeah, don't use balsam sap because it's volatile. Ve'od gzer shem yistapek mimenu. And additionally, we're concerned that maybe somebody's going to take some of that balsam sap for himself, and that would be mechabe. There was a mother-in-law who hated her daughter-in-law. So then the mother-in-law said to her daughter-in-law, go and put on balsam oil. Not balsam oil. Go and put on a farsimon oil. A farsimon oil, okay? Which smelled really good. And she went and did it. So I don't see what problem this mother-in-law could possibly have with such an obedient daughter-in-law. But in any event, this mother seemed to really hate her daughter-in-law. And she said, go and put on a farsimon oil. And she did. Ki asas amrla zil isle shraga. And then she said to the daughter-in-law, now go light a flame. Okay. Asla shraga inpach banura va'achalta. And then sure enough, she went and lit the flame, and then the flame caught to this flammable farsimon oil, and she lit on fire, and she died. Oy. that sounds terrible. And I guess that the point of the Gemara is probably, first of all, don't do that. It's not very nice. And secondly, that some of these oils, I guess, are very flammable, and you have to be careful with them. And friends, with that, we wrap up the 25th page of Masechta Shabbos. Recap. We started off explaining how come we would be allowed to use Shemen Sreifa during the week, right? This tamei terumah oil. How come we can use it during the week? So we gave 3 answers. The first one was Rav Nachman's answer, which is Hinei nasati lecha es mishmeres trumosai. Right, trumosai is both trumas, my truma tahora and my truma tamei. What can you do with truma tamei? You could burn it however which way you would like. Rabbi Abahu's answer, which is lo bi'arti mimenu b'tamei, right, that by meiser sheni we say mimenu to the exclusion of, right, you don't burn meiser sheni when it's tamei, but you can burn truma tamei and get benefit from it. Then finally there was the opinion of, right, and during Rabbi Abahu's we had that whole discussion about how do we know it's truma tamei, maybe it's kachim tamei, right? We ended up saying, well, kachim is more machmir, and therefore we're going to say that you're not allowed to burn it when it's tamei. And finally there was the opinion of Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, who says by truma it says titen lo, you have to give it to him, not to his fire, which then therefore implies that he's allowed to put it in his fire if it's tamei. Then we talked about the chiyuv to light Shabbos candles, because we want shalom bayis, that it should be light in the house and that nobody should be uncomfortable. Bathing before Shabbos, right? So Rabbi says it's a mitzvah to bathe before Shabbos. We had that cool story about that cool anecdote of Rabbi Yehuda bar Ilai about how he would bathe and then put on his tzitzis and be like an angel, which is really cool. And then these cool agaritas about lighting candles on Shabbos and also making up your bed before Shabbos, things like that. And then all these things about who is considered the wealthy person. You had a sameach bechelko, somebody who's happy with his lot. There was also Rabbi Tarfon's opinion, which is somebody who's got a lot of possessions is wealthy. There's Rabbi Akiva's opinion, somebody who has a wife who has very great deeds. And the final opinion of Rabbi Yossi is somebody whose bathroom is close to his table. And then finally we learned that, we learned that cool thing about, if you take oil out of the candle, it would be considered extinguishing the candle. And then finally we learned not to light your daughter-in-law on fire. Thank you everybody for joining. I really enjoyed it. I hope you have a really good day or good night, and peace.